Back to DC soon. Are you ready to get your life back?
Huh?
You ready to get your life back? Sending her back to DC soon.
Well, I have to admit this. I think I gave my boss a cold, but yeah.
Oh. Nice,
yeah.
dude. Nice.
So, I've been accused of giving more than one person in this office a cold. It's more like you guys are just weak. You guys are just weak. So.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Nice work, dude.
But she's keeping busy. So we were on the Big Island yesterday. So she did some meetings there, and she's remaining active, and then she goes back to DC on Saturday.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
gearing up. I mean, I can let you guys know. So tomorrow she's going to actually be doing a press conference with the Attorney General and the organization called the Hawaii Coalition for Civil Rights. They're going to spotlight one of the issues that she has talked to you is about DACA. There was some anticipation that Trump was going to issue some sort of executive order to cancel the program. But the other thing that is in place, and I don't know if the hurricane is going to affect this, but there were about 10 AGs that were saying that if the president did not act to cancel DACA by September 5th, they were going to file in the same region that made the earlier ruling against the DACA program, that they were going to file their own suit just to cancel it out. So, so there was some question whether Trump was going to take any action on his own. So, since that hasn't happened, what the senator is doing is again bringing spotlight to the issues, that saying this is going to be one of the important issues that we're going to have to deal with when we go back, and that Hawaii is speaking with a united voice on this, on the different fronts. So.
And when is that event?
It's going to be tomorrow, 11:15, on the Halikuila steps of the federal building. So, I'll tell you before we even send out the media advisories.
The attorneys general that we're going to file for it, are they from Republican states?
Yeah, they're from about 10, as the senator calls them, the Texas 10, even though they're from more than just the state of Texas. I think they were from 10 AGs from 10 of the different states, whereas there are certain AGs led by, I think, Attorney General Chin told the senator, led by Javier Becerra, the AG for California, that is a proponent of for this group of students, or individuals, I should say. So.
Nice. I've heard rumors that ICE agents were setting up roadblocks on evacuation routes in Texas. Tell me those are just rumors.
You know, I've heard that too. I mean, I think even like I was listening to public radio today and other news media outlets that certain individuals are not seeking any kind of assistance for fear that they will be deported or something. Yeah. So I have not. I have to ask our DC office if there's been any kind of verification of that, or if that is happening or not happening. So.
Obviously despicable if it is. And you know, I know she doesn't need our encouragement, but the senator's voice to that kind of threatening and fear-mongering would be, I think, welcome in the national sphere. It's horrific to think that families could drown because they're fearful of asking for help or leaving their homes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a public safety issue.
Sure.
They're so scared that they're just going to stay in place, not seek any kind of assistance, you know, and that will have a...
And it could be us next. You know, I mean, anybody that's in any storm-threatened region knows how it can change on a dime.
Okay. Let me find out about the ICE enforcement.
That would be nice.
Because I read something on a news site, I don't remember which one, on my computer today, this morning, and they were saying that people didn't need to be afraid. You know, that they should ask for help, and I just put it out there, don't believe anything these people say, you know. Okay. So I don't know how true that is.
Okay.
But I don't trust at all.
One of the items on our list today, Alan, is the pardon of Sheriff Joe.
Oh.
apparently it is not unprecedented for one or both houses of Congress to scrutinize a pardon when it is perceived to be potentially beyond the bounds of what is acceptable. It was true of Ford's pardon of Nixon and Clinton's pardon of Rich, yeah.
Oh, okay.
When she heads back,
Mhm.
it would be lovely if she could look into that
Okay.
and see what can be done to at least not let it go unchallenged.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know that they will succeed,
Mhm.
but boy, it can't just go unchallenged.
Okay.
Yeah, particularly in this case, I think it's very clear that he did the pardon for his own political gain, as shown by the rally he had. What is it? The day before or a couple of days before.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about the legislation, but it seems to me that presidential pardons should not be for the benefit of the president. That he shouldn't be doing those out of it for his own self-interest.
Okay.
And it seems to me that he did.
Okay.
And building on that, I think it's another opportunity to question the Republicans in Congress about whether they agree with this kind of an action and whether they agree with this kind of racism.
Because that's exactly what it's doing. It's giving the message that it's okay. He was known to do atrocious things to the Latinas and Latinos there. And yet to be pardoned then, that's sending a clear message that you can get by with it.
Well, and it also says that the law doesn't apply to some people.
I think the much more threatening aspect of that is, and I'm not a fan of Arpaio by any means, but he's teeing it up for Russia. And the message he's really sending out is, boys, don't flip on me on Russia, and I'll pardon you if you get convicted.
Absolutely.
That's the message.
Okay.
And that's the really big one. And when you have the head of the executive telling the legislature, don't worry about it,
Yeah.
you will never get caught because I will save you, we're in a whole different universe. Whatever presidential pardons mean, they can't mean that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Morse code straight from the Oval Office to everybody on Mueller's hit list.
It's the Sopranos.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre.
And we'll have so we'll be having a new judiciary team. We had some changes in our office, so we just announced the hiring of a new chief counsel for the senator, Helene, and I can't even remember her last name right now. And then the senator met with the Hawaii Coalition on Civil Rights last week, and the one thing we gave to them that I said I was going to give to you guys is we gave to them kind of like we know the nominations that were coming up and the issues that were going to come up before judiciary. So if they had any information they want to share with our office on those issues, to please do so. That way we can at least put it if it's relevant for the senator to see for the hearing, or else we can even do potentially questions for the record. And what we asked the Hawaii Coalition for Civil Rights is that, oftentimes we hear from the national groups, and just because of the cycle, we don't oftentimes hear from local groups. But if they have information that they want to share with the senator that is specific to Hawaii, they should feel free to do so. Then we can if the senator is not able to ask them a question on the record, we can do what's called questions for the record that they have to answer in writing. So,
By all means, pass it
I will
on,
share that
and we'll.
to you guys as well too. So.
And I will disseminate. Sherry, I know will, Indivisible will.
Okay.
So all the different groups will weigh in.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
I will do that.
While we're talking about nominations, can we talk about Clovis?
Sure.
Chuck and Senator Schatz' office is just back from knee surgery, and he referred to Clovis as rancid, which I thought was just a wonderful word, and one worth repeating in here. He's a man that has no business in any appointed position in our government, and certainly not as a scientist, nor as just a decent human being. So we would ask that she lend her voice loudly and persistently to this nomination. It's USDA, as the chief scientist at Ag.
Yes.
Another thing that we thanked Senator Schatz for is introducing a Medicaid for all
Yes.
bill, and there's going to be other Medicare, Medicaid related things coming from other senators too. Is the senator going to be signing on to those?
Well, I think for the Medicare for All, she's going to look at to see if she knows that, I guess, Senator Sanders is. So our staffs have been meeting, or Senator staffs has been briefing the other offices to figure out what is the details of it. So we're waiting to get more information to see what that entails. And same with Senator Schatz is, we heard about the announcement, but I don't know if we received any specific information of what his legislation entails. But it kind of covers what the senator says is healthcare is a right, not a privilege.
Yeah.
And what is the basic level of, she didn't say this, I'm saying this, what is the basic level of coverage that we should guarantee to all United States citizens. So.
Well, if it moves the process along in her decision making, Senator Schatz's staff just told us that Senator Sanders is encouraging senators to sign on to either or.
Okay.
Just sign on to something.
Okay.
So, Hawaii can stand tall on this one.
Okay.
We've got a great history of health care for all long before the rest of the country got the notion. So it would be nice.
We're getting
to see
there, like you said. I mean, prepaid health, as your experience, Paul, you say it covers the employees.
Right. It doesn't help me out.
It doesn't cover. There is a section of individuals like yourself that you guys share the stories.
And Kayla, whose shoe is now up there.
That you still have to purchase health insurance, which under ACA has at least, it's not cheap by any stretch of the means, but at least it provides you coverage that otherwise you said you couldn't get.
Right.
So.
Right. And Senator Schatz's bill opens that door even wider for people like me here in Hawaii, and lots of people around the country who don't have employer mandated health care like we have here. So some people are going to tell Senator Schatz he's not going far enough, and maybe he's not, but he's going further than anybody else has so far. And so we're really excited about that.
Yeah, it's an idea. I mean, you got to start someplace. Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And what
even
he said
my
that-
own primary care physician told me thank you, and to the rest of us that hit the streets, with our signs and that fighting for the health care. He said for his, people that he sees. So.
Senator Schatz said set up at the Bishop Museum to me that they were all going to try and sign on to each other so that they could be supportive and not have to be fighting against each other. The fighting's too much of a word, but disagreeing with each other on this little thing or that little thing.
Sure.
So,
I mean, just like you said, the principle.
Right.
You agree. There's commonality. How you get there, different paths, but in principle, it achieves the same kind of
I
goal.
would be surprised if somebody lowers the Medicare age to 55 or something.
I mean, there's
like
been
that.
discussion of that. Is definitely changing the Medicare age.
I wouldn't quite be old enough yet, in case you were wondering, but
Me
I think
neither.
it's soon.
Me too. So.
I would also say that Senator Schatz has done something that I think we've been harping on for a long time, which is we can't just continue to be the party of no. We can't continue to just resist, even though we as groups call ourselves the resistance. We've got to start floating ideas and putting something out there for both legislative consideration, but also for the public to react to. And what Senator Schatz just did is a great example of that. I have a feeling Senator Hirono has a few tricks up her sleeve she could do the same with. And we would encourage her. I think now's that time.
Okay. Well, I think what she's encouraged, and we'll see how it unfolds, is Chair Alexander, who's a Republican, and the ranking member, Patty Murray, are going to start to hold hearings within their committee, the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, to talk about ACA. Not to repeal it, but what needs to be done regarding it. And I think they may be specifically looking at components of it. But the senator has been holding some healthcare meetings with different providers, community health centers during this month to figure out, okay, what are the needs for our state? The one thing that she is focused on talking with the state is, as we talked about, Prepaid Healthcare Act is do no harm. Is Hawaii's system is unique in some respects. Is how do we do that, and how do we? But it goes to what you're saying is making sure her voice is heard. So.
And healthcare is definitely at the top of the list. But there are so many other things, right? What's going on with DACA, and she's doing it tomorrow by holding this press conference. What's going on with immigration? This is a state that understands immigration well.
And I would just add, I'd like to see a positive program on jobs,
Sure.
education for all. I mean, secondary ed or advanced education for all. We need some positive programs in these areas. And again, we seem to be getting that in healthcare.
Yeah.
And we applaud that. But where's our democratic program for jobs, for full employment, for opportunities?
There was, I mean, right before the recess there, I have to go back and refresh my memory, and I could say it with Powell. There was a Democratic platform that they came up, I can't remember what it's
Okay,
called.
but one time isn't enough.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
But
all
it
this-
wasn't. But it wasn't anything necessarily new. I think it was like livable wage and things like that. But let me, if that is what they're going to be fighting for, when they go back, I mean, one of the issues that's going to come up is pretty quickly is that if the Republicans are going to try to deal with tax reform, they need something. But like I said, is the Democrats do have certain principles dealing with that, so I can get that to you as far
And I
as.
think we're seeing, and I know we can't talk politics in this room, or at least you can't. I mean, I think we're seeing that the Democrats kind of can't find their way out of a paper bag when it comes to what to do for 2018 right now, and hopefully they'll get a map and a compass. But in the meantime, there is opportunity for new voices and loud voices, and legislative notions that perhaps we've never had the courage to put on the table before. And I think the public is ready to hear that. The leadership may, wring their hands in back rooms and worry about whether or not this is the right thing to do. But I think we're seeing it with Senator Schatz's proposal. We're seeing it with other things, that people on this side of the political spectrum are ready to back some new and innovative ideas if they will come out of Washington.
And with their votes.
Yeah, and with their voices now and their votes in 2018.
Okay.
A couple other quick things. Sinclair Media. Maybe it's
That's
not.
right. I forgot. That was brought up.
Lisa's been the one all over this. Lisa's the one that finds our sleeper issues, and then they're no longer sleeper ones. They're holding 38%, although Dale upstairs corrected me to 39% of the local media markets now, and if they are able to acquire the additional, how many more is it? 42 more stations, they're going to hold 72% of the nation's local media markets. That's just like rat lungworm taking over the island. Taking over the United States. We can't let it happen.
Yes. I mean, that was brought up last
Yeah.
week. Whether the fairness doctrine applies, I forgot. I did not get to that.
Can you get to that
I
one
will
for
get
us?
to that. Yes.
It's not as-
When I get rid of it. Oh, actually, when I get rid of it. When the Senate returns to
When
Washington.
she goes back to Washington. Yeah, that's a big
So-
one. And maybe it's not as sexy, and it doesn't lend
No.
itself to a press conference on the steps like DACA does. But that's the kind of thing like the census that can happen while we sleep, and it impacts us for decades.
Okay.
But it is an issue that you could stump on because it's easy to understand.
Yeah.
I mean, they're buying out all the local news, so where are people going to get their news? They're going to get all this, their version of the news.
Okay.
Trump media. So
I get mine on the BBC. I trust that one.
Okay.
What else, gang?
Houston.
Oh
Houston.
yeah, we haven't talked about Houston.
Well, we did talk about the ICE subject.
Yeah, I'd like to, Ray from Indivisible. As a former New Yorker, or even still a New Yorker, Cruz, and I think there's 20 sitting Republican congressmen from Texas and elsewhere, including the Vice President of the United States, who refused to support funding for Sandy. That is, they voted against funding for Sandy. Right now,
Sandy
now they
victims.
have this tremendous catastrophe,
Yeah.
and of course I'm for funding whatever they need. They morally should not be able to get away with that and hide that. I think it was the The Republicans did it. They did it for whatever reasons. Maybe there's too many blacks or Latins or Asians in New York City. Maybe they don't like New York City or the East Coast because it's too democratic. Maybe they have a host of other reasons. But they not only voted against it, but they said if they were going to vote for it, they had to be set aside. You had to
Offsets, yes.
Offsets.
So it'll
Offsets
be
is
interesting
good.
for
So-
them now with their constituents.
So what I think
call
is-
for the same in principle.
this is among other things, it's a morality issue. And the senator and the Democrats should not let them get away with this without bringing it up on the floor,
Again and again and again.
holding press conferences, smashing them
Yep.
over the heads with it, being aggressive as you could possibly be, because what they did was, they were a bunch of scoundrels, to tell you the truth. That they would deny aid to the people on the East Coast who needed that.
Yeah.
And now, not a peep out of one of them. Not a peep out of one. And I saw Senator Cruz on television
trying to
yesterday. He was a
justify it.
disgrace, a total disgrace. So my suggestion would be that that this be a big issue. This not be swept under the floor. This is a vote that they should live to regret.
I think Hurricane Harvey is an opportunity for the Democrats to stress a lot of things. One of them is all the global warming predictions predicted this. Terrible storms. So one, we should always be talking about this is what was predicted. That this is the what global warming causes. And two, what Ray's talking about, which is government does wonderful things for people, and they need to be reminded of it. And the hypocrisy of them not supporting relief for the victims of Hurricane Sandy, but they're going to want it for the victims of in Houston. And to what extent, I don't know. But I read that only one of those 6 houses has flood insurance there. 1 of 6, because they have to buy it through the federal government. And that federal plan that's underfunded and all in the red anyway. So 5, 6 of those homeowners are going to be asking their legislatures, their Republican legislatures, to rebuild my house.
No,
That's what's
but
gonna
the
happen. I don't know.
legislature's busy about bathrooms, right? They spend all the time preparing
This
about
is what I'm saying.
bathrooms.
This is the Democrats.
I mean,
This is our opportunity to point out the importance of government, the reality of global warming, and that government does good things. This is a really good thing. And if they're doing a great job, which I don't know if it's true because I can't judge it, but that's what they all say, they're doing a great job, and we'll find out later when it's evaluated. Great. That's what a good government does. And that's what we should be doing. But this is an opportunity to educate people that government helps you.
I think it's a prime example of regulations, because Houston is one of those places that has just let anybody build anything anywhere, and now they're paying for it.
Well, yeah, they covered everything with cement, and apparently they're pretty much at sea level. I guess they're 50 feet above sea level. So
Water doesn't soak into cement very
Right.
well.
There's a term for that, an architectural term about permeable surface or something, and apparently they're way beyond the standards that other people enforce.
Same thing happened in New Orleans too.
Yeah.
In Panama City.
but I think it's
Panama, not Florida.
it's global warming that's causing to some of these storms to be more than
Yeah, the
historically
Gulf
they
of
ever have been.
Mexico
They've never had anything like 50
temperatures.
inches of rain.
It's the hottest
So,
ocean water in the world.
but apparently the Gulf is getting warmer, and so the water's going into there, and yeah, I don't know what the Democrats' position should be on rebuilding 5 out of 6 houses in Houston that didn't want to pay for flood insurance or weren't able to. The problem with all this is that when you fund these relief for the victims, the ones that benefit are the poor people, and they don't like poor people. So I don't know what the answer is. But those
And I
are the
think-
ones that are the most victimized. 'Cause they have
And I
nowhere to
think
go.
our
They can't
voice
go to a
here-
hotel.
Exactly.
I mean, where are they going to go?
They
You
don't
have
get
the money.
hotels. They don't have another homes in some other part of the country.
All their family and relatives are struggling. They don't have places to put them up.
And it's all of these little things, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. We have to lend a voice to that. And we can do it with each other in this conference room and at our meetings and rallies and with our friends over, cocktails and poo-poos. But when our elected officials start speaking up about these things as well, you know, and the senator's so good at it. I mean, you know, she'll look us in the eye and sort of shake her finger and say, elections have consequences. We got here. We did this to ourselves. You know, I think we can hear her telling that to a national audience. And so now what are we going to do about it? Are we going to let poor people just live on the streets because they can't go to hotels? Are we going to allow pardons like this one of Sheriff Joe, which is sending smoke signals to the people on Mueller's list that they'll be okay? Are we going to just stand by and allow this, or are we going to say, no, this is not who our country is? Are we going to continue to deny climate change? It's happening right here. And we saw her pound on her desk on the Senate floor in the middle of the night. We know she's got that in her. And now's the time.
If I could just follow, I think there's no senator in the country who has more moral authority than our senator right here. That fight that she led on healthcare was viewed all across the country, and the groundswell of admiration and support for her is just out of sight. She's in a unique position politically right now because she had the fortitude to do what she did. She deserves everything, but she does have a platform that a lot of other senators do not have because of what she did, and we're very proud of her.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would
She
agree
needs
with
to
that.
use it to educate people.
Yeah, I mean, she has to be judicious. I mean, she's not out there just to kind of to talk. And like I said, as she explained to you, it was not a necessarily easy decision, I think, for her to make, but it was a decision she felt that she had to make to talk about something very personal to herself, just because she saw what was unfolding that night, and she just didn't want to be another voice speaking about, you know, this and that. And she said she says Democrats oftentimes are very good speaking to the brain, but they don't speak to the heart.
Right.
And so she chose to open up a portion of her life, which she has. I don't think she's done that previously. But like you said, the other thing she talks about is connecting. Right? Is how do you, whenever she gets before an audience, how does she connect to the audience? Not just speak to them, but connect to them.
She
So
has an
close
intuitive
to what you were
ability to
saying.
connect to the heart, to speak to the heart. And we need a lot of heart in this country right now. Now more than ever, because we are so divided. And I know it's kind of our way, it's sort of the Hawaii way, to not make too much noise, not pound on the gas too loudly. But if we don't now, when will we? And to Ray's point, when she pounded on her desk that night, it was heard around the country and played over and over and over again.
But I would say it's even interesting, like I said, in the time that I've worked for the senator, just her being back in state this time, because this is the first time she's been back in state for a long period of time since she's had the 2 surgeries, is how people are coming up to her and the reaction to her as an individual. Either individuals opening up to them and saying, I'm a cancer survivor, you know, because now there's some commonality there, or exactly what you're saying, just saying thank you for being who you are. And like I said, that I would say, you know, at the beginning of this year, that didn't necessarily happen as frequently. So,
Well, it's a testament to her.
yeah.
Is she
Uh,
getting
But I
that wherever
think
she
it's,
goes?
huh?
She's getting that wherever she goes.
Yeah,
now
when
she
we're
walks
going,
down
you
the
know, just
street
we
or
were
whatever?
in the Big Island, like saying KTA supermarket, and people we're saying that. But like I said, is I think from what you guys are saying is she's providing a voice for people who want to have someone on their side to speak for them.
And that's who
Because
she's
it-
always been.
Yeah.
As you have told us, her saying is every single day somebody gets screwed. So she's always wanted to
Yeah.
be that voice. And I hope if she takes anything else back from this time home, it is that Hawaii stands with her maybe now more than ever.
That's why she laughs a little bit when they say, you know, the senator has found her voice or she's found her mojo. She goes, I always had it. I may not have spoken that loudly, but you know.
I was very impressed too that she didn't have notes. She told us that she didn't have notes because she hadn't planned to speak
Yeah.
at that
Those
time.
are those I find in the different elected officials I work for. will truly be the best speeches.
It just came right from her.
Yeah.
Alan, what is it you admire most about her, working for her and knowing her as you do?
I mean, you know, like I said, I've been lucky for all the different elected officials.
I'm
that
not
I've worked
asking
for.
about any
No,
of the
but
rest of them.
I will say this is a commonality with all of them. One, I believe, going back to officials that I worked for, I worked for Leo McCarthy in California. You know, I worked for Neil Abercrombie, I worked for Senator Noy, and now I work for Senator Hirono. I'm lucky because I think all the individuals I work for have very strong principles. They know what they stand for. They have a moral compass. And then two, the other thing, I've been lucky to work with elected officials that don't want staff just to be yes people, that want staff to balance them, that want to challenge them, that we don't just hear to just say, yes, Senator Hirono, this is what, you know, I agree with you, Senator Hirono. And same with Senator Hirono, for as senior as he was, is he never just expected us to just do a rubber stamp or anything like that. Neil was the same way. We would have policy discussions, and you know, he would get kind of exercise, but he, but in all the different officials I work for, they appreciate being challenged by the staff, just so that it shows them how we think as a staff to do a better to work for them. So that's those are I've been lucky in the different positions I've held with the elected officials, because I know other people who have worked for different elected officials that it hasn't turned out that way for them. So
I'm sure those sitting around the table have one staffer in mind right this moment.
I was just thinking that.
So, but
I'm
then-
always the
but-
one
but
that
then
says it, aren't I?
There is a joke that I would say, because I said when I was earlier in my career, I made the rounds and I applied to all the congressional offices, and I continue to say Mrs. Mink did not hire me. So, so I said even when I was, and that was when I got, thankfully I got hired by Neil Abercrombie. I would say, I said, remember when Mrs. Mink didn't hire me? And her response to her staff was all, because Neil needed him more than I did.
Oh, nice recovery. Nice recovery. Did we miss anything, guys?
Okay, no.
Matt,
If you-
Matt, did you have something?
Matt had a question.
Yeah, Matt.
I remember. I was thinking on the healthcare issue was I just spent like a small fortune coming over here, and now I'm going to end up doing telemedicine, which is huge. So I know the senator has been big on that, and I would just like to see her push that more, because I spent huge amount of time seeing doctors who never look at me. They just look at pictures, and it's like, why did I come over here? You know, and I think it could just, the HIPAA laws are really costing us a huge amount of money. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
And I know if the senator ever wanted to talk to a constituent that could speak volumes to it, Matt's your guy. I mean, his life is healthcare right now, and he doesn't live within a stone's throw of Queens or an airplane ride or two.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know where to find us if she needs us.
Just an email or phone call away.
That's it.
All
We'll
right.
see you next week.